Chapter 59. The exiled Jews of Bani Nadir who had settled in Khaybar were determined to take back the land they had lost. Their hopes depended on the Quraysh's preparations for a final attack against the Prophet. Near the end of the 5th year of Islam, around the start of 627 AD, these plans accelerated when Huyai and other Jewish leaders from Khaybar secretly visited Mecca. "We stand with you," they told Abu Sufyan, "to destroy Muhammad." "Those who help us against Muhammad are most dear to us," he replied. Abu Sufyan, Safwan, and other Quraysh leaders then took the Jews inside the Kaaba, where they swore a sacred oath to God, promising to support each other until they succeeded. The Quraysh then asked the Jews for their opinion about their conflict with Muhammad. "People of the Jews," said Abu Sufyan, "you have the first scripture and knowledge. Tell us, is our religion better than Muhammad's? Are we more correct than him?" "Your religion is better," they answered. "You are more correct than he is." With this agreement, the allies made their plans. The Jews promised to stir up all the nomadic tribes in Najd who had complaints against Medina, using bribes when revenge wasn't motivation enough. The Bani Asad quickly agreed to help. The Bani Ghatafan were promised half of Khaybar's date harvest if they joined, adding nearly 2,000 fighters from the Ghatafan clans of Fazara, Murrah, and Ashja. The Jews also got 700 fighters from Bani Sulaim, though more would have joined if not for growing support for Islam in the tribe since the massacre at Ma'una. The southern neighbors, Bani Amir, stayed completely loyal to their agreement with the Prophet. The Quraysh and their closest allies numbered 4,000. Along with some southern groups, they planned to march from Mecca along the western coastal route, the same way they had gone to Uhud. A second, less united army would approach Medina from the east, across the Najd plains. Together, these forces were more than 3 times stronger than what the Quraysh had at Uhud, where 3,000 had defeated the Muslims. Now they faced 10,000. Also, instead of 200 cavalry, the Quraysh now had 300, plus another 300 from Ghatafan. They left Mecca as planned. Around the same time, possibly with Abbas's knowledge, horsemen from Bani Khuza'ah rushed to Medina to warn the Prophet about the coming attack. They arrived in 4 days, giving him just 1 week to prepare. The Prophet immediately alerted the entire oasis and encouraged his followers, promising victory if they would be patient, respect God, and follow orders. As at Uhud, he called a meeting where many ideas were shared about what to do. Finally, Salman stood and said, "Messenger of God, in Persia, when we feared cavalry attacks, we dug trenches around ourselves. Let's dig a trench now." Everyone enthusiastically agreed, especially since they didn't want to repeat Uhud's strategy. Time was short, and maximum effort was needed to avoid dangerous gaps in their defenses. The trench didn't have to be continuous. Long rows of fortress-like houses at the city's edge provided protection in many places. To the northwest, large rock formations were naturally strong and just needed connecting. The closest, Mount Sal, would be included in their defenses, with the open ground before it being perfect for their camp. The trench itself would curve north from the rocks to Medina's eastern wall, this being the longest and most important section. Salman, who suggested the plan, knew exactly how wide and deep the trench should be. Having worked with Bani Qurayza, he knew they had all the needed tools. Though they disliked the Prophet, most thought keeping their agreement with him was politically wise, so they lent picks, axes, shovels, and strong palm fiber baskets for carrying dirt. The Prophet assigned each group part of the trench and worked alongside them. They went out at dawn after prayers and returned at dusk. One morning, as he led them out, he chanted words from when they built the mosque. "O God, true good is only the good of the hereafter. forgive the helpers and emigrants." The men joined in, sometimes chanting, "O God, true life is only the life of the hereafter. Have mercy on the helpers and emigrants." They constantly reminded each other time was short. When the enemy came, anyone slacking was mocked. Salman earned admiration, strong and tough from years of labor for Bani Qurayza. "He does the work of 10 men, they said. A friendly rivalry developed. "Salman is ours," the emigrants said, since he'd left home seeking truth. "He's one of us," the helpers replied. But the Prophet said, "Salman is of us, the people of the house." They dug up rocks along Medina's side of the trench for defense. Earth was carried away in baskets on heads. Then the baskets were filled with stones and brought back. The best stones came from Mount Sal's base. The men worked bare-chested, using knotted garments as sacks when baskets weren't available. On the first morning, boys followed them to help. The youngest were sent home, but the Prophet let older ones work with the understanding they'd leave when the enemy came. Those turned away at Uhud, like Usama and Abdullah, now 15, were allowed to join the men for both work and battle. Bara of Ars later described the Prophet at the trench, wearing a red cloak, dust on his chest, black hair touching his shoulders. "I've never seen anyone more beautiful," he said. Others felt this too. The Prophet, moved by their simple, natural way of life, started a song all joined. "This beauty isn't Kaba's beauty, it's more innocent and purer, O Lord." He worked alternately with emigrants and helpers, using different tools, but he was always told of any major problems. Despite the hard work, there were light moments. A convert from Bani Damra, a pious but unattractive man originally named Ju'ail, Little Beetle, had been renamed Amr, Life, Faith, by the Prophet. Seeing him dig, an emigrant made up lines. He changed his name from Ju'ail to Amr, helped the poor man that day. Others joined in, laughing. The Prophet only emphasized Amr and help. Then he led another song. "Lord, without you we'd never have been guided, never given charity or prayed. Send us calm, steady us for battle. These enemies oppressed us, tried to turn us away, but we refused." Jabir first called for help when his tools couldn't break a rock. The Prophet spat in water, prayed, and sprinkled it, softening the rock to sand. Another time Umar struggled with a boulder. The Prophet struck it 3 times with a pickaxe. Each strike produced a flash, first toward Yemen, then north toward Syria, then east toward Persia's White Palace. "Through these," he told Salman, "God has opened Yemen, Syria, the west and the east to us." Hunger troubled the workers, especially since the Prophet looked extremely thin when helping Jabir. That evening, Jabir asked his wife to prepare their only food, a ewe and some barley. She roasted the meat and made bread. At nightfall, Jabir invited the Prophet, who clasped his hand, but then announced to all workers, "Come with me to Jabir's house." Though surprised, Jabir's wife agreed. The Prophet blessed the small meal, yet it fed everyone with leftovers. Another day, the Prophet saw Abdullah ibn Rawaha's niece bringing dates to her family. He had her pour them onto a cloth, then invited the diggers to eat. The dates kept multiplying until they overflowed the cloth even after all had eaten.